just how small and insignificant, well, I wouldn't say insignificant, how small we are, seemingly insignificant if there wasn't a grand master plan. Look at us here on Earth, right? We think things are so big. We go, wow, look at that. It's pretty crazy. And yes, I know I'm playing with my new toy, I get it. But you know what? It's Friday, so we think it's so big, and then we go, actually, just kidding, right? Actually, there's the moon. Actually, there's the sun. And then actually, that is just one little thing in our huge, massive galaxy. So far away. That's crazy. That is nuts. We zoom out and zoom out and zoom out, and there we are. Welcome back, everybody. This new, not gonna lie, this new Apple Vision Pro is pretty wild. Happy Friday, welcome to the show. Braden, how are you?
I am doing awesome. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy Friday. Hey, this is the Content Desk, and Fridays are a little bit different because Fridays episodes, they're earlier, and they have a different vibe to them. So we're going to talk about headlines. We actually have a really fun, a really good show today, at least I think. And I might be partial to it. We get to talk about my favorite topics on Earth. We get to talk about Bitcoin. Can you see my shirt? I wore it on purpose. Jesus, Cybertrucks, Elon Musk, a little bit, and physics. And we got a good show. So we're gonna go to headlines here in just a second. But I do want to kind of paint a little bit of a picture of this, because on Fridays, think of Monday through Thursday as business and relevant events and things that are more tactical and deals and what have you. Fridays are a little bit more principle based. And quick story time. Originally, this show was going to be called Bitcoin and Jesus. That was going to be the name of the show. Now that I'm sure Brayden, if someone's sitting there and they're like, what? Like, how on earth do those two things fit together? Well, they do, but we'll get into that here in a second, okay? But originally the show was going to be called Bitcoin and Jesus. It's not, but we're going to call Friday's episodes Bitcoin and Jesus. I think that's kind of the overarching theme. That will make more sense as we go into it. But the Fridays are like, hey, a little bit more of like principle-based. It's a little bit more philosophy. It's a little bit more deep dives into topics. And these headlines are going to make sense in a second. We're going to talk, about why we're picking these. But they're very much related to. And this show, the purpose of this is to kind of understand worldview and to understand how to think and how things work and deep dive and philosophy and religion, what drives behavior, and really have a better, deeper understanding of the world, of God, of ourselves, and how we make decisions and navigate through life. And so, that's the purpose of these shows. So with that, we're going to go to headlines. You're going to think they're funny because they kind of are. Ready for this, Braden?
Yep, go for it.
Headline number 1. Tesla just dropped a new base model dual motor, all-wheel drive Cybertruck. It's a new model. Mine's better, don't worry. Okay, I don't have the Cyber Beast. I know. I'm poor. I get it. I'm just kidding. But I will have one. I will have one soon. But they just dropped the new Cybertruck. It is $59,990. You can literally now get a Cybertruck for less than 60 grand, $20,000 cheaper than the prior entry model, stripping away some of the luxuries like ventilated seats and the rear screen, but keeping the same powertrain. Starts at $59,990 for 10 days. And then the price goes up, I think, to 62. It still has a powered cover. You still have bed outlets. It has coiled spring with adaptive damping, which is kind of lame once you know what the Cybertruck is. And for most people, they're like, what are you even talking about? That Cybertruck goes up and down. In fact, should I do it right now on the stream? This would be actually kind of dope. Okay, this is one of my favorite features of it, is that it has like air ride suspension, basically. And you can make it go up and down. The coolest feature is steer-by-wire. The new Cybertruck does still have that. All right, here we go. Ready? Let's see. Want to make it drop. I didn't think this through because in order for it to go back up, sometimes the air compressor has to kick on. But you see that? You see it dropping there, Braden? Is that not crazy? I see it dropping. That's so nuts. All right, I'm going to stop it and tell it to go back up to high. That is actually so cool. Look at that. Yeah. Ah! It goes right back up.
How high does it go? Does it go pretty high?
I mean, it's like there's like an 8-inch from top to, like I think an 8-inch drop when it's all the way up versus when it's all the way down. So pretty significant, right?
Okay.
Guys, I'm a huge Elon fan, and we're gonna talk about that today. But there's a reason for it. It's actually not just because I'm like, oh, Elon, yeah, like randomly picked him. There's actually a very philosophical reason. There's a very logical reason. There's a very, I would argue, moral reason, although some people would be like, all right, Josh, now you're just trying to push the limits, okay? But there is a reason for that. So that was big news today. That's kind of exciting. So I would highly recommend, if you're going to buy a Cybertruck, don't buy the base model that just came out. You should just get this one or the Cyber Beast. It's worth the extra 20 grand. But for those people that do want a cheaper option, that's fun and exciting. Still has steer-by-wire, so all four wheels turn, and that's absolutely insane. Has a powered frunk, and it has different rims than the base model, or than this model and the Cyber Beast. Okay, so that is headline number one. Now you're like, again, that seems kind of random, right? Seems a little bit like what? Like Josh is just trying to tell us about stuff he likes. Welcome to the show. All right. So headline number two is that Elon Musk tweeted out, and these are our two headlines for the day. Ready for this, Braden? That he believes in the teachings of Jesus. And all of Twitter went wild. I saw these Christians accounts, dude, that were like, oh my gosh, Elon confirms he's a Christian, or oh, Elon is. I'm like, okay, all right, okay, listen. I love Elon. Don't get me wrong. Newsflash, Christians, in case you haven't read the Bible. Believing in the teachings of Jesus doesn't save you. Correct. Believing in Jesus saves you. Okay, and there's a difference. Now, the topic for today's episode, what we're going to be talking about, is forming a worldview. And I think that what's interesting is that we go through life. So many of us go through life, and we want to succeed. We're forced to deal with making decisions every single day, navigating complex situations, navigating, dealing with other people, navigating finances, navigating health, navigating the political messiness of it all, right? Yet so few people stop and take the time to understand, or at least seek to understand, how the world works. And today, we're going to talk about the laws of the universe and how the world works, and form a worldview for really this show. And I mean, it comes from my worldview, obviously, but really like better, deeper understanding how we make decisions. Because like, think of it like this. It's really useful to know what the foundation that you're building your life upon is built on, or what it is, right? It's really helpful to know where your limitations are, right? How far can you push, right? What is solid? And so, as we go through this, I thought the world was pretty simple growing up, Braden. I don't know about you, but I was like, yep, it's pretty much here's how it is. If you get rich and make a bunch of money, you get ahead. And money was basically my form of truth. And you treat people, I mean, I guess by how the Bible says, but also like take care of me first type of deal. I mean, that was kind of my worldview. I grew up Christian, but it wasn't until I actually spent time over the course of many years now, it's been, forming a worldview that I realized how I made decisions. I was able to make hard decisions, was able to ultimately succeed a lot more in life with a lot less pain, a lot less frustration, things making more sense, willing to sacrifice more things in the short term once I understood how the world worked, and or at least where the limits and the structure were. Because like most people do not know, like you look at an Elon Musk and you go, how on earth can Elon do what Elon does? How on earth can a Trump do what a Trump does? Why is it that some people grow up in an environment where the most that they'll ever do is, make 60 grand a year or 40 grand a year and struggle with health issues or never accomplish anything big, feeling like the world is victimized, they're victimized and the world is stacked against them, right? And others that grow up in an environment similar to that go and do incredible, amazing things and feel like the world is, acting for them. What's the difference? Or perhaps an even better question is, how is it that two people that are very similar, you're driven to succeed, right? Like you're all in, you're committed, both people are, right? Like Elon Musk is not the only person that's committed at his level. So why is it if two people that are both committed, that want to succeed, that want to go all in, right? One of them absolutely blows past expectations. The other one does well, right? There's a lot of people out there that went and made $100 million. There's a lot of people out there that went and, have amazing, families. They've achieved some level of accomplishment and success. There's a lot of great scientists out there that have had some scientific breakthroughs. And then there's Elon. And it's like, we're all pushing. People that want to succeed are pushing. So what's the difference on those, right? And I would argue that to understand what the difference is, we must first understand structure, understand how we approach limitations and the structural makeup of the world. Some might call it authority, right? Levels of authority, and that's a different conversation. But that's what we're talking about here today, because I believe that Jesus, physics, Bitcoin, Elon, and my Cybertruck all fit together. Like they're correlated. Like they all belong in the same bucket. And you're like, that is insane. But they do. I believe this. And I believe that if you can form a worldview, or if you can understand how those things all fit together, that you'll be able to understand my worldview and the worldview of the show better. Now, why should you care about my worldview? Why should you care about the worldview of the show? Well, because I seek to, and we all should seek to know what is true. Like our North Star should always be, what is truth? Okay? Because if you can ask yourself that question of what is truth, and you can align your worldview against what is truth, or you can align your life against what is truth, then you will be living and acting and operating in what is true. And if you are living and operating and acting in truth, then the truth will set you free, right? You will live a better life. You will have more success in whatever that looks like. I'm not talking about, the success of the world, but you will be able to make informed decisions, and you'll be able to go and go through life empowered. If you do not live in truth, and if you don't know what the truth is, you will stay a slave. You will stay stuck. You will not have control over your life, and you will live in eternal slavery of lies. And you'll be able to be manipulated, and you'll be able to be abused, and you'll be able to have horrible things happen to you because you are not living in truth. You with me, Braden?
I'm with you.
Yeah. And so that's the show. And I want to take you back, tell a story about this. When I first got started in business, my goal was to make a lot of money and to get rich and famous, because I believed that was ultimately what success was, and that allowed me to go and do what it was that I wanted in life. Now, for those of you that don't know, has it been 6 years now? Yeah, about 6 years. Yeah, 6 years ago now. My older brother, passed away in a helicopter crash, tragically, and it was unexpected, obviously. And that really kind of brought my world to a screeching halt. And up until that point, the way that I looked at the world was through. I never even thought to question why I did things or what really mattered. It was just like, obviously you wanted to go get rich. Obviously I wanted to go be famous. Obviously you wanted to be successful. That's just what you did, right? That's what it was just, yeah. And so when my brother passed, it kind of brought my world to a screeching halt. And for the first time, my lens of reality had been shattered. Because now, I was like, wait a second. Whoa, if my life can go that quickly, if the people around me, lives can go that quickly, wait a second, what's the meaning of all of this, right? What really matters? Is money still the goal? Is building a $100 million company still the goal? Is business in general still the goal? What's the point of any of this? Why not just die now? Why not go commit suicide? Why not? Now, I was never suicidal, but this thought process of okay, there's gotta be some meaning or structure or lens to this. And fast forward, jump, 2 years later, about 2 to 3 years later, as I'm studying money and I'm studying business and how the world works and economic models, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, wait a second, hold on. Why is printing fiat money evil? Why is it a problem that they're stealing our lives away with it? Why is it a problem that we have inflation? Why is it a problem that politicians are corrupt? Right? Why is it a problem that we have a whole massive part of the population who is basically in poverty, right? Around the world, while there's a global elite at the top. Why is it a problem that they're doing horrible things? And what was interesting is that the answer to those two questions was basically the same, but also the tactical takeaway from that, what I was able to go and do and execute and how I was able to go then live my life once I understood the answer to that completely changed my life, because it finally for the first time made sense and I had a decision-making framework, okay? I'm very, very passionate about, and I believe it's a very, very good thing for people to have a North Star, a purpose, a goal, a future-based cause in life that they are working towards. I think you should have that always. And I'm very, very passionate about mine. My personal life goal is to anchor money to reality, and we're going to get into that as to why. But what I learned through this process, and I think the reason that many people struggle with knowing what their purpose is or knowing where to go is because we don't understand the structure of reality itself, the structure of the world itself, okay? So if there was a big idea for today's episode, it would be that there is structure and that there are unchanging objective truths, or at least one, that guide the structure of the world and the makeup of the world. And you can't argue with those things. And at the top level of that, you have Jesus and God, same thing, that sit at the top. And they are the ultimate authority. It says in the Bible, right, that when Jesus died on the cross, 3 days later, he rises again, and he goes up into heaven, and God gives him all authority over all of the earth and all of the heavens and everything that has ever been created. He has ultimate authority over. And it's well, that's great. When I die, maybe I'll go into the spiritual realm. But we live in the physical. And so I want to focus more on the physical realm today, because while there is a whole episode or series, or we go on forever about the spiritual, I want to talk about the structural makeup of reality itself. Because if we're going to go and talk about deals, if we're going to go and talk about where opportunity happens, if we're going to go talk about money, and if we're going to go and talk about living a successful life, getting paid and being free, it's okay, how do you do that? How does this stuff work? Because we have to know what truth is. And we have to know, like, okay, if I want to be free, what is freedom? If I want money, what is money, right? If I want to go out there and do a deal, like, what's the container, the things that I can push against, right? The thing that I can make decisions against to do deals, right? What structure is in place? I didn't understand why structure was important for a very long time, by the way. And if you're wondering, why is structure important? Well, it's like, because without structure, everything would just be flat. And technically, without structure, it wouldn't even be flat. It would just be chaos, okay? So structure creates order. And so I'd ask you, I would say, would you like order in your life? Okay? If you would like to have wealth, you need order and structure. If you would like to succeed in life, success requires structure and order, right? If you would like to go and have a successful marriage, requires structure and order. If you'd like to have a business that succeeds, structure and order. If you'd like to have a team, structure and order, okay? And so if we don't know what the structure, or create structure and order, or we don't know where the structural limits are, we cannot navigate through life successfully. We are simply guessing. And I spent a lot of time going and studying this. And what ultimately drove me into this was, after my brother passed away, I started questioning these things. And I realized that the way I had been living my life up until that point was selfish and was not in line with who I was called to be. But what does that even mean, Braden? Like, how could one possibly, like, what do you mean I was selfish? Define it. Again, that's why structure matters. Because if you can't define something, then there's no structure, then you can't define something. But in the act of defining it itself, right, there creates structure. So it's like, how do I go about this? And so I started realizing that I wasn't living in the way that I should have been, that I had a higher calling on my life. God got a hold of my life, and then shortly after, Jesus got a hold of my life. And there's a reason that I believe in Jesus, because, and not just God. You know, I think a lot of people out there, I laugh. They go, oh, I'm spiritual. Like, okay. Or I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. And I'm like, awesome. So like, I believe in Jesus. And they're like, yeah, I believe in God. And I'm like, right, I believe in Jesus though. I don't say I believe in God. I mean, I do believe in God, but our God has a name. And that's why it matters, okay? Again, topic for another episode, but our God has a name, and his name is Jesus. And so Jesus gets a hold of my life, and I start realizing, okay, I have a purpose here on this earth. Now what? My business is shut down at the time. I had a successful business, or a somewhat successful business. I had done a big launch. We made like $300,000 at the time. Over $200,000 of it was cash collected. And I looked at this kind of mountain of work in front of me, and I was like, life was chaotic, and I was tired. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Jesus gets a hold of my life. I recommit my life to him, and he says, give me everything. And for the first time in my life, I did. And he said, even the money and even the business. And I'm like, all right, it's all yours. Now, side note, Braden, part of the reason I was willing to do that is because I was tired. And I can't help but think of the verse that says, come to me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And, oftentimes in life, we go through challenges, or we go through things that are very difficult at times, right? And we wonder why God puts us through them. We wonder what could possibly be the learning lesson? How on earth is making $300,000 and hating your life, or being so overwhelmed by, how is that possibly a good thing? And the answer was, so that I could experience the peace of Jesus, right? So that I could give it all to him, right? And so oftentimes we go through life and we look at things in a certain way, and the lens that we choose is ultimately going to determine how we interpret life. It's how we're going to go and make decisions. And so I recommit my life to Christ. He says, hey, I want you to give it all to me. I refund a bunch of money, and I spend the next 9 months of my life just figuring out, or trying to figure out what is next. What does all of this mean? I was called to go and fix relationships, right? Flying back home and fixing past relationships with things. I was told to go and, do some things to address some things in my past. And then I reached a point where shortly after that, I was like, okay, what's next? If I'm going to go out and be successful in life, if I'm going to go out and build a movement, if I'm going to go out and change the world, if I'm going to go and lead, then I'm going to need some money. And I'm going to need to understand money. And so I fly to my friend Brad's house because Brad was the smartest guy that I knew at the time. He still is, I think. I think Brad is probably the smartest guy. He's brilliant.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
To work for him. He's a brilliant guy. He's my money guy, right? And I fly out to him and I'm like, Brad, listen, I need to understand how this game of money works, because while I know now that money is not the ultimate authority, money is not truth, okay? Money was my God for a while, right? But now it's not. But also I understand that money plays a big role in society, right? And I know that if I'm gonna navigate this world, well, then I'm gonna need to study this. And he goes, all right, I'll teach you. And so we spent a couple days together, and what he proceeded to share with me made me very, very upset. It made me very angry. And this was an entry point into this world of studying structural reality. Okay? I'm gonna pause here before I tell you what it is that he said. Okay? There is a structure to this world. You don't get to argue with that. You can, you won't win. It's like fighting gravity. You don't get to argue with gravity. It just is. And so when it feels like, when you look around the world today, and it feels like it's chaos, and it feels like, excuse me, and it feels like there is disorder, and it feels like everything is changing and it's overwhelming. It's like, yes, it can feel like that. But guess what? That's all happening with inside of some structure, with inside of some laws, with inside of some rules. And if you want to build a firm foundation, if you want to be able to navigate the chaos of the world, if you want to be able to go and like have success, you have to find that foundation. And anyone that tells you that there isn't a foundation, anyone that tells you that there is not objective truth is lying to you. They are wrong, objectively wrong. How does the statement go? If someone says, oh, I ask someone, is there objective truth? And they go, no. And I say, well, is that objectively true? LOL. Okay? It's like there is. And so when you start to study these, all of a sudden you will recognize that there is patterns and that you can find truth and that there is wisdom and there is order and there is a plan. And I think it's very difficult for anyone that is truly seeking to go through understanding these rules and not come to the conclusion that there is an intelligent design and rules that govern the way that we live. So what are those rules? In a nutshell, don't worry, I have not forgotten about the story. What are the rules? Physics are the laws of the universe. You don't get to argue with them. They just are. If we can untangle physics, the world that we know today, or the reality that we know today, ceases to exist and we all die. Literally. So if someone's like, oh, quantum computing, I'm like, yeah, quantum computing can challenge the laws of physics. But if they ever break the laws of physics and unwind them, we all die because the entire structure of reality falls apart, okay? So in the physical realm, the laws of physics are our boundaries. Is the government our boundaries? No. Is money our boundary? No. Is status quo our boundary? No. Is time our boundary? No. The most fundamental truth in the physical realm that we know of, in the physical realm, is the law of physics. Okay? So that is foundationally true. It's like you can count on gravity, right? As well, as long as you're here on the earth, right? It's like, cool. Now, if we find new laws, if we go and we study and science discovers something new, did the laws of physics change? No. What changed, Braden?
Our perception of physics. That's about it.
Our understanding of physics, our perception of physics, but it didn't change, right? So all of a sudden here in this physical realm, it's like, oh, the laws of physics. Why do I love Elon so much? Because Elon says my only limitation is physics. That's it. Okay? Elon is able to go and challenge the status quo. Dude, you know that meme of that bird? It's on the sand, and it's like sticking out its leg, like super, super far. It has like its little thing down, and the caption is, "Don't do that." And then its little leg, its little toe is like down there touching it, and it's like that. And it's like
it's doing
putting
that.
its toe in.
I haven't seen that, but I can imagine it.
Okay, yeah, that's Elon. It's like
100%
the whole world's like, don't do that. Why? Like, Elon doesn't make sense, dude. Like, how is it? He just always wins.
Well, like even starting a car company and a literal space company to rival NASA. Like nobody else is competing like he is.
Rival NASA?
No other.
LOL.
When he was starting out, and then same with a car company. Like that's absolutely wild to me because nobody in their right mind was starting car companies when he started them.
Car company, it being an electric car company, sending rockets up to space and then bringing them back down and catching them with tongs. But not only that, I think what is arguably more impressive is I will never forget the day that Elon Musk, I think it was the country of Brazil, said, hey, we're like, you have to ban free speech. X is not allowed. This is after he had bought Twitter. And Elon Musk like defied the country. He's like, no, we're just not going to do it. It's like, how is it that they have blackmail on everyone? How is it that like they can, like everyone bends the knee, like everyone gets a big ego and falls. Yet Elon Musk hasn't fallen. Like the amount of times Elon should have been stopped, the amount of times that Elon should have fallen, the amount of things that they have thrown at him, the amount of people that want him gone, the amount of times that like people are like, oh, he's being egotistical, the amount of times where he will just like say something that is so counterintuitive to the status quo. And he's like, no, you're all wrong. And he's always right. Okay. With the exception of like interpersonal relationships on things. Cause you know, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't go to Elon Musk for relationship advice. Right. But when it comes to the laws of the world, money, business, success, like narrative, like he wins all of them. And he is able to do things that no other human has been able to do. Why? Because his only limitation is the laws of the universe. I believe, or is physics, which is the law of the universe. I have studied Elon a tremendous amount. Like over the last 18 months, I would say that well over 85, maybe even 90% of all of my studying of people has been on Elon, his companies, his structures. Up until I would say a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, if a video clip on the internet existed of Elon in an interview of any sort, I have seen it, right? I've scoured the internet for it because I wanted to understand how this guy was able to do what he did. And what I found was that I trust Elon at his word because every single thing that Elon has ever done is simply to align with truth, align with the laws of physics. He doesn't care what the truth is. He just wants to know what it is. He doesn't care what the limitation is. He will just push it and push it and push it until it cannot be pushed anymore because he wants to know. He's not in it for ego. He's not in it because he wants to get rich. He's not in it for his own personal gain. He wants to go to Mars. He wants to make life multiplanetary. And if you want to go to Mars and you want to build a colony there, guess whose opinion doesn't matter? The masses. Guess what feeling good about yourself but being factually wrong when it comes to physics doesn't get you to Mars. Right? Like you have to be factually aligned with physics, factually aligned with truth. So Elon, the reason I love him is he's like, hey, laws of physics, that is our limitation. Like that is our structure, and everything within the laws of physics, right? Like that can be chaotic, but if you align it with those, it will last. It's like, okay. So that's level one. Now, I happen to believe that the laws of physics can't be cheated, right? Like for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. You can delay it, But part of the reason that we're in chaos is because we as a society are trying to live outside of physics or by cheating the rules of physics. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if physics are the first level of, or the highest level of structure in the physical realm, now enter humans into the equation. Now, are humans physical? Yes, they are.
Yeah, our bodies are.
Are they exclusively physical?
No.
Right. So humans, it's what makes us special. It's what makes us different, right, than animals or any other living creature, is that we are not exclusively physical. We are in the physical realm. We act and operate within the physical realm. So our physical bodies must abide by the laws of physics. However, we also have our mind. And our mind is very logical. But our mind is able to process things and understand things and think about things quite literally outside of the laws of physics in many ways, right? Now, we also have our soul, which is in the spiritual realm. And so all of a sudden, we have humans, us, that live in the physical realm. We're able to process in a different realm or a different reality. And then we also have souls that are in the spiritual realm, which means that we are not here on this earth we are here on this earth for a reason, but we are guided by or attached to some higher level purpose. Now, again, this is not the episode for that. But the reason that this matters is because we have to answer this question of morality. Okay? So I believe that physics provides the foundational truth of the physical world. But inside of the physical world, we as humans have this thing that we have to do, which is deal with one another. And physics does not provide a very good way of going about doing that, does it? No, because physics would say murder a bunch of people and take their resources, right? Physics does not define morality, does not define good or bad, it does not define value or worth. And so when it comes to how to treat people, when it comes to what matters, when it comes to what guides our life, there must be some law or some set of rules or some guidance that we measure against. Are you with me?
Yeah.
What is that? That is the moral law. And Jesus is that law. So physics gives us the laws of the physical world, and Jesus gives us the laws of morality. Okay? So we have physics and we have Jesus. Are you with me?
Yep, following.
I believe, again, this is deep, but why not for the first Friday episode, okay? Jesus gives us a moral law, which means that, and this is crazy, but I'm going to say it for my nerds out there that really want to follow this train of thought, is there such thing as an objectively correct way to treat someone in every single given situation? An objective way.
I'd say yes.
Yes, most people would say no, right? Because they're like, well, it's, love your neighbor. Well, what does that look like? It means that even though every single individual situation is subjectively different, there are no two situations that are alike. And the question of, is there an objective way to go about acting in that situation would seemingly be impossible if every single situation is subjective. Because if everything is unique and everything is subjective, then there can't be anything that's objective. But I would say that there is. And the answer to that would be however Jesus would have acted.
Correct. Yep.
Because he is truth. He is the law, right? He is the authority. He is the standard, right? And so it's like, however he would have operated. Well, how would you know that? Study him. Okay, so we have we have Jesus as the moral laws that guide us. We have physics as the physical laws that guide us. Where the heck does Bitcoin come into this? That makes sense. At least Jesus and physics make sense. Well, let's go back to the story. So I go to Brad's house, and I'm like, Brad, tell me, teach me. And to summarize the story, Brad has a very large house. It's like a 12,000 square foot house. He's got a tunnel underneath the ground from his basement to his 2,500 square foot guest house. It sits on top of the side of a mountain overlooking Salt Lake City. It's just insane. So he takes me over, and we look out from his throne of greatness. And he goes, do you see all those houses? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, it's all debt. It's all fake. Now, that's not going to make sense right now, but here was his point. He goes, dude, what your understanding of money is inaccurate. Money is not what you think it is. Money is not what we've been told that it is, because money has ceased to be money. And the monetary structure, the money today, is not actually money. It is an instrument that, like this is, well, let me finish my thought. It is an instrument that is being used to try to manipulate or violate or cheat the laws of physics. And until we understand that, our entire perception of the world isn't going to make sense. The world will not make sense, okay? Because if you think about this, if you make all of your decisions or a majority of your decisions off of something, money, okay? But that thing that you make those decisions off of isn't what you think it is, then you are going to make inaccurate decisions. Now, again, we don't have time to go into this. I promise you we will do series on series on series on this. I absolutely love this topic, okay? But what I learned is that money does not act in accordance with the laws of physics, which means that we have an entire society that is trying to borrow energy from the future, that is trying to say, hey, listen, we're going to spend or use more energy than we have. We're going to try to not act in the way that physics are by creating an instrument, and we're going to delay the inevitable, but delay the inevitable. And by doing so, we create we create chaos, and nothing seems to work. And so what the problem has been is that up until this point, there has been no way for us to anchor the most important or influential thing for most people, money, the thing that this is objective truth it's the only form of objective truth that we all agree upon in society, regardless of your religion. It's like $1 is $1. Like, this is $1, and it doesn't matter who has it. We all agree that this is $1. Like, name me one other thing, Braden, that every single human being on earth or every single person in America can all agree upon, right? And it's like,
you know, there's so much nuance to it. I was thinking like air, like we all breathe air is something, but people could, there's some crazies out there. I don't know. Yeah. Like, that's the only one I can think of.
We all agree this is $1. If we say you can buy this pen for $1, everyone would say, okay, this is $1, this is $1. You can, okay? So the collective society is operating on a basis that this is something, $1, and that this is money, and that this is a certain thing. But it's not. I wish I had time to go into it. I don't. So I'll leave you with this hook for later. This is actually, factually, legally, and by every stretch or definition that you could possibly think of, not money. It literally is not, which is insane. It's not like a conspiracy theory. I mean, like literally from a dictionary definition, from a physics definition, from a legal definition, this is literally not money, okay? And so the problem is that we need to have a way that we can interact with one another and interact within the laws of physics. So we as a society need to collectively agree, hey, if I work, if I extend energy, if I'm going to operate in the laws of physics, if we're going to trade things, we need to have a way to interact with one another, right? And we call that interaction, we call the business, we call transactions, we call the structure and order and the movement of all of this, we call that an economy or economics, right? We call this money. And it's like, okay, great. But if we can't argue with the laws of, with objective laws, then we must align with them. And it's like, well, does that line up with the laws of physics? And the answer is no. And up until now, there has never been a way to have an economic model that is fundamentally like coded into the laws of physics, like unchangingly into the laws of physics. Like, you can't manipulate it or cheat it even if you wanted to in alignment with the laws of physics. And I believe that Bitcoin is the first technology that has ever existed ever that gives us economic physics. okay? It creates, I wouldn't say a new rule of physics. It creates a new way for us to interact with and participate with physics. Now, this is all very, very conceptual, but I promise you we'll get into it. Just so we're clear, Bitcoin is not what you think it is. Bitcoin is not a cryptocurrency. I'm not talking about Bitcoin as the price charts. I'm not talking about, oh, it went up or down or we can transact. No, I'm talking about Bitcoin as a technology. I'm talking about Bitcoin like aligned with the laws of physics. Like if we're really going down the rabbit hole, I believe that like Bitcoin is hard coded into the laws of reality itself, right? Like in the laws of physics itself. It's the way that we get to participate in it. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm following. It is a little vague, I'd say, for people
Yes.
who've never dug down this rabbit hole before.
Yeah, but my point in saying all of this is that we have to start to form a worldview, and we have to start to form like a way, something that we measure decisions against. I think someone's here at my house. Hold on. Oh, nice. Yeah, someone is here at my house, but the babysitter got him. All right. We have to have a way, like a foundational, a worldview and a lens that we can start to go and measure things against. And on this show, like when it comes to good and bad and what is morally right or what we should do or shouldn't do, right? The foundational truth that we anchor against is Jesus. Why? Because he just is true. And it's like, well, no, that's Josh, that's your opinion. It's quite literally not. Like if I stopped believing in Jesus, he does not cease to be Jesus, right? Right? So same thing with physics. If I stop believing in the laws of gravity, gravity doesn't cease to happen, okay?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to business and when it comes to opportunities and when it comes to content and when it comes to, the topics in succeeding in life, get paid, be free, it's like we need to align with an economic system. We need to align with principles of things that are foundationally true. And I genuinely believe with every fiber that I am that the one that we currently have in place, this being the foundation of economics and money and exchange and value, this one is not only broken, it's a lie. And so the reason that the Bitcoin and Jesus Friday episodes exist, when we're going to talk about philosophy and we're going to talk about structure and we're going to talk about principles of things, is because if we can start at a foundational level and we can start to understand how the world is formed, eventually, or how the world is structured, eventually we're going to get to places where now it's not objective anymore, it is subjective, meaning within the laws of physics and within the laws of foundation, we have a lot of creative freedom, right? But if we try to go and build businesses or we try to go and live successful lives, we try to go and do things within the laws of physics that don't align with it, it will create chaos and it will create pain and it will create frustration and it will feel like, why is it that I feel like I push my life forward, I try so hard, only to have it come crashing back down? Or why is it that I've had success, right, but I still feel empty? Or why is it that, you name it, we have to start with the foundational truth. So why is it that I love Jesus and Elon and Bitcoin and physics and Cybertrucks? And how on earth how is there a through line of those things? Because I believe that the pursuit of truth is a good thing. And I believe that truth matters because it does. And I love things that are aligned with or seek to be aligned with what is true. And if you act and operate in a way that is true, then I want to be a part of it. And I believe that that is worth supporting. And so when people go, oh, you love technology, I'm like, yeah, I do. But like, that's not why I love Cybertrucks or Elon. That's not. I love it because they pursue truth. And so what's the through line? It's that Jesus is the ultimate truth. Jesus is moral truth. And physics is physical truth, the laws of physics. So you have Jesus as truth, period. And then physics as the laws of the physical universe that Jesus and God wrote, right? So you have physics as physical truth. You have Jesus as moral truth with inside of the laws of physics, but also outside of the laws of physics, which means that it's applicable to us as humans. And then you have Bitcoin as, and I know this seems like a stretch, but I promise you it's not. We will get into it. Bitcoin as economic physics, economical truth that an economic model that cannot be, you can't argue with it. You can't change it, right? That just fundamentally is when used correctly. And we have an opportunity for the first time ever to usher in that and build something that's built on a foundation that is built into the laws of physics rather than authoritative structure. We'll get into that more later. And then you look around the world today and you go, okay, well, that's great, but who is challenging the law? Who is challenging the status quo? And I'm like, well, Elon. Elon goes, I don't care what truth is. I just want to know it. I don't care what the limits are. I'm just going to push it. He's 100% signal and 0% noise. Cut the noise, go to signal. Signal is truth. And then Elon goes and he says, okay, cool. We're going to go to Mars. We're going to challenge. We're going to do what's never been done before. We're going to seek truth at a greater level, at a deeper level, right? And I'm like, yes, that's inspiring. Yes. And when he speaks, I know that by default, when Elon says something, I believe it to be true by default, unless it contradicts the Bible. Why? Because Jesus is a higher authority or a higher level rule. The Bible is a higher level rule than Elon. But I know that if Elon says something, if Elon believes something, that it is he cares about aligning that belief with the laws of physics. So I'm like, yeah, I love that. That's why I love studying him. And then, if we don't have fun in life, what the heck are we doing, right? God wants us to have fun. And so then Elon built a freaking spaceship where they had to invent a new type of metal in order to go and make this, challenging the laws of physics as we knew it, finding a new way about doing things, and said, here you go, Josh. You can buy it and you can drive it. And I go, yes, please, because that is more fundamentally challenging of the status quo and of the current narrative and understanding of reality than any other vehicle out there. So yeah, that's why there's a through line. Because objectively, a Cybertruck is more aligned with physics than the average car. Welcome to Bitcoin and Jesus Fridays.
Let's go.
What do you think, Braden? Where do you think people's heads are at?
Well, I think there's a lot of hooks. Like, why do you believe in Bitcoin so much? So that's something that I'm going to be like. I'm sure people are going to be curious hearing your perspective on that. And then also, you are very much into Elon as well. So like, my mind is like, how did you get to this point where you see Elon as like the pinnacle of like the forerunner of physics, basically?
Yeah. I mean, you just look at his track record and look at what he's doing and building. The purpose of this episode is not to answer every question. It is to set a foundation so that as we navigate and go through this, like, we have a reference point of where the narrative or where the decisions are built off of, like where our worldview, our approach is built off of. And God has been very gracious. Jesus' love is just so incredible. And if you don't know Jesus, just go know Jesus. It's like the Bible is true. I believe every word. You really believe every word? Yes. Every single word. Yes. Was it literal or was it, analogies or stories? Yes. It's not either or. It's true. But Jesus is so gracious and he's so kind. And like, if you don't know him, don't take somebody else's version of him. Like, he loves you. Okay? Go get to know Jesus. And with that, it's like, okay, when after my brother had passed and even growing up and I didn't realize I was doing this, I started to look at things very logically, and I became obsessed with logic and structure and order and all of those things. And that's a good thing. It is, to a certain extent, because order does matter. And so when I wanted to build a successful business and I wanted to go and understand, how the world works, like looking at structure mattered. And then Jesus came along, and Jesus is emotion and feeling and love, because God is love and Jesus is love. And love is an emotion, and structure is not an emotion. And the problem that I had up until Jesus got a hold of my life is that I started to look at the world taking out the emotion out of it and looking at things just as objective reality and facts. Humans became obstacles if they were were in my way of where it was that I wanted to go and get to. And so I started saying, well, none of this matters. Don't we just want to study the world? Don't we just want to understand structure? And it's like, okay, imagine, Josh, imagine that I went and knew, or imagine we knew all the structure of how the world works. Okay, who cares? Because we weren't put in this world just to understand structure. We weren't put in this world just to see how this stuff works. We were put in this world for a reason. And we were put in this world to act and live in a certain way. And that's where Jesus comes into the equation, is that humans matter. Why do humans matter? Because God said so. Because Jesus said so. It's like when you see these ridiculous signs of like from PETA or from these people that are like, why are humans more valuable than animals? I'm like, easy. Because God said so. And they're like, well, that's just your opinion. It's literally not. Okay? Humans are more valuable because Jesus loves us and he said so. And so it's like, okay, so what is our job in this world? It's to love humans. And so this blend of understanding structure and understanding physics and understanding the laws of the universe, that is only useful or only helpful if we have a way to participate with it. If we use that information to make our lives better or to make the lives of others better, we should enjoy the creation. Knowledge for the sake of knowledge itself is pointless, okay? And so one of the reasons I think that Elon is at the pinnacle of physics is because name a human that has the level of depth of physics and understanding of physics that Elon does, and also then has built and done things that allow us to participate in or interact with physics in new ways and at new levels that makes our life better. I'm a big fan of Nikola Tesla, right? Like, space-time, not a thing, okay? Like, sorry, all you modern scientists, you're dumb, okay? Nikola Tesla, he's the man, okay? But like, Nikola Tesla, compared to Elon, Nikola Tesla might have objectively had a deeper understanding of physics than Elon did. I don't know. I never met the guy. He might have. But when it comes to the depth of understanding and then also what he did with that understanding, what was built and done and how we better humanity and make our lives better and allow others to participate in it, no one even comes close to Elon. And that's why he's at the top. That's why I love studying him. And it's like, there's Jesus. He's at the top. He's number one, right? And then there's what Jesus says about me and how I'm supposed to live. And on this earth, where I'm so grateful. It is just so insane that we get to live at the same time as Elon, right? It's like, why? Because you get to watch someone that seeks truth, seeks the laws of physics, and then wants to build stuff and participate in it. And it's so insane that we have a Bible, like Jesus in written form, that we get to read, and it's this book of life. It's so insane. It's like, well, why? Because if you read it, it's literally alive, right? And it will change your life, and it will give you a way to participate and succeed, right? And it's like, okay, great. So in this world today, how are we supposed to live? How do we make decisions? And we'll wrap it up with this, okay? How are we supposed to live? How are we supposed to make decisions? What are we supposed to go out and do? How do we live a successful life? It's like, well, first off, understand structure, understand limitation, find the unchangings that you can make decisions against. Because if the rule system or the thing that you're making decisions against or measuring progress against or setting goals against or determining what you're going to do in life against, if that is changing, then you will live in chaos forever. But if you can find the laws of physics, the limits in physics, if you can find the limits in morality or the foundation of morality, right, the standard, if you can go and you can study them, you can interact with them, Jesus, the Bible, right, then you will be guided to be able to build something that matters and that will last. And if you want to be able to have a life of peace, peace that passes understanding, if you want to build a business where that lasts or that doesn't cause stress, that has a solid foundation, then do not build a business that violates the laws of physics. Do not build a business that violates the morality of God. I have my own issues with Dave Ramsey. I've changed my stance on him over the years, but like credit where his credit is due with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey has zero financial stress no matter what happens. Why? Because he doesn't have debt. And it's like, oh, what if all of his assets go to zero in value? It's like, it's fine. He doesn't owe anyone anything. He didn't try to violate the laws of physics to go and build what he's built. So much stress and so much anxiety and so much worry and so much of the hustle and so much of the insecurities that we have, if not all of them, come from us simply not aligning our life and what we build with the laws of morality, Jesus, and with the laws of physics. And Bitcoin's the way to do that with money. All right, welcome to the show. These are gonna be Friday episodes. We're gonna go deep like this. Friday episodes may go longer. We're a little bit over time right now. We started a little bit late, but these ones might go 60 minutes. They might go 90 minutes. We might bring on, some guests and do interviews and kind of go deeper on these things. Monday through Thursdays, we will stick with pretty focused on deals and on opportunities and in the business world and relevantness. And these ones will go deeper there. Welcome to the Content Desk. Thanks so much for listening. Here's your 24-hour move. Right now, I would challenge you that this weekend, as you sign off for the weekend and you're thinking about next week, spend some time this weekend and ask yourself, what do I believe? What is my worldview? What do I base my decisions against? And I would say that there may be nothing more powerful of an exercise for you to go and do, because I know for me at least, and Braden, perhaps it's true for you as well, that every time I do that, I quickly am able to identify areas where I'm not living in what I know to be true. And it's like that's the source of my frustration. So it's a really, really helpful exercise. So ask yourself, what is true? What do I believe? What do I base my decisions against? And go have an amazing weekend. We will see you on Monday, 5 p.m. Mountain Time on YouTube, on X, on Facebook for now. With that, have a great weekend. Take it easy, fam. Jesus loves you. Peace.